after the pandemic, the reason that there was such a huge upswing of the small and diverse business utilization is because they saw how the big companies got messed over in the supply chain. They couldn't deliver. Small businesses, the local businesses, the diverse businesses, they saved the day when you big company couldn't do it.
Today's episode, I'm joined by the incomparable Heather Cox, a dynamic advocate for diversity and co-founder of Certify My Company. Heather brings a wealth of experience in helping diverse businesses gain certification and connect with corporations eager to embrace inclusion. She brings an extensive experience as a business executive, public speaker, and corporate matchmaker to the conversation. Heather is a powerhouse. I'm so happy that she's on the show today. So welcome, Heather.
Thank you. I'm trying to figure out what pocket I fall into, or a few pockets, right? Are we innovators? We're experts. Definitely an expert. Or we're going to throw ourselves in some other buckets.
You've been doing this way too long not to be an expert. You're an innovator to some degree as well. I'd love to kind of kick off the show that way, because we have a lot of different types of listeners, right? So we have those from corporate America. We have those certainly from the small business community, and every industry you can imagine from, construction to tech to what we're in, professional services. So I'm so curious, what was it that led you to start and co-found Certify My Company, and how have you kept that innovation going?
It's so funny because people often like, well, how did you get into this? And, now in college, there is actually degrees for supplier diversity. But back in the good old days, as my kids call it, in the early 1900s, what my kids always say, were there cars, Mom, when you were little, right? So, but there wasn't. And actually, my degree was in Spanish and French, which is totally different, the trajectory we were going for. But when I was pregnant with baby number one, I knew I had to work. I didn't know exactly what that was going to look like. I'd always done sales and I did operations and things like that, but I just wasn't sure. I knew corporate America wasn't always very mommy friendly. So I was just asking other women, working moms, just a bunch of questions. Like, what's it like to be a full-time, part-time, executive, entrepreneur? And I just thought the entrepreneurs were the most amazing people. There was just something about them, their passion, their energy. I don't know what it was. There was just something that I just loved about them. So I just kept asking
making
them
me
more
smile,
questions.
just making me beam.
It was just like something about them. They just had this like it's something that, I don't know, je ne sais quoi, if you want to, I don't know, but there was something in there. And so I just kept asking the ones, especially the ones that are like business to business, I was asking them a bunch more questions. And eventually a couple of them said to me, oh, this email again, this client wants me to get certified as a woman-owned business, and I just can't get it done. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you run a business. What can't you do? And I don't care if the business is $50,000 in revenue or $50 million in revenue. I'm sorry. What can't you do? I couldn't understand it. So I went home, I started doing a little research, and my husband's an attorney. So I said to him, hey, hon, what's a certificate of incorporation? And he said, in some states. And I'm like, aha. So it's not the same across the country, which means, so then I started figuring out, if you're in whatever state that has a certificate of organization and not of incorporation, and you're looking for that certificate of incorporation, well, now you're super frustrated. Mm-hmm. And this is even before I knew the bandwidth constraints of being a working mom, because I was still pregnant at the time, right? And also running a business. And so I was like, I guess if you're frustrated, you're like, I'll do it later, but later can be 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years when you're running a business. So I was like, oh, I'll do it for you. And that is how Certify My Company was born. I honestly had no idea what I was doing. I'm like, I would say my middle name should have been resourceful, because I am probably one of the most resourceful people you ever meet. So I just kind of figured it out. I FIO'd it, right? All the way. And then this one told this one, and that one told that one. And then someone said, can you do minority? Then somebody said, can you do LGBT? And then veteran, and just kind of snowballed.
I love it. I love it. I'm curious, what are, when people think about, diverse businesses, corporate America, it seems like it's a perfect match, but I'm sure there's misconceptions when it comes to a diverse business or a small business trying to do business with corporate America. So what does that look like? And how does your company help people to kind of address those misconceptions?
Yeah. So first of all, kudos to you for not saying small and diverse, because people always say that. There was like small and diverse. And I'm like, not all diverse businesses are small, and not all small businesses are diverse, exactly. Right? So look at Janice Bryan Howard, right? She runs a multi-billion-dollar company, and she's a certified diverse business, right? Mm-hmm. So that is one thing that people are the big, huge misconception, that all diverse businesses are small. I would say the majority probably are per the SBA size standards, but not all of them, right? And some of them are getting close. They've bypassed it. They've surpassed it, I should say. So I would really say like the matchmaker part of it comes in understanding what each person's needs are, right? And because we facilitate the certifications, we really have seen the inside out of these companies. We know what they're capable of, what they're not capable of, who they've worked with. We've seen. So what we'll do sometimes is if a corporation says to me, "Hey Heather, I need someone that does X, Y, and Z." Oh, I have a great client. They have a great business. I will say, I don't know if they've ever done business with somebody your size, but I think it's worth a conversation, right? So at least that way, they're getting their foot in the door, which is the whole point of this supplier diversity, right? Is getting your foot in the door, because that's often the hardest part.
So, with everything changing in the lens of that, especially coming back from the pandemic and corporate and just the way work has changed so much, are you seeing any specific trends around how large businesses are working with small businesses, Fortune 500, and what they're welcoming, especially in the space of everything we saw around DEI and what happened, post pandemic? So, are you seeing any changes or trends specifically on that?
Well, I will say what we have seen. I was just on a panel at NGLCC 2 weeks ago, right? National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce had their annual conference. It was in Palm Springs this year. And I was on a panel with a couple other corporate representatives. And one of the biggest theme, and I really wanted and Rose from Paramount said the most amazing thing, and I really wanted to give her like a mic drop, but the mics were like those solid heavy ones. I couldn't drop them anywhere. I was like really disappointed that I couldn't like really give her the moment that she deserved when it happened. But
you might knock her out if you threw it at her now.
Exactly right. Like, I get sued by the hotel.
Exactly. You don't want all that now.
But she said, the CEOs, all these CEOs of these companies who are still strong and involved in the supply diversity world have said, we're not changing. We're not changing. We are going to continue this. Those who have pulled out never really had it. The ones who have pulled back were probably the ones with that really cute landing page, the supply diversity page. But did they really dig in and do it? Right? Or is it just a talking point? The ones who are still sticking around, who are doubling down, I'm going to $1 billion roundtable tomorrow. It's a conference. There's 39 companies that spend $1 billion with a B with certified diverse suppliers. The conference starts tomorrow night. I'll be there with to applaud and give accolades to every single one of them that deserve it. But they are the ones doubling down. They're like, we're not backing down. We know this is a good business strategy. It has made us money, and we are not stopping.
And don't forget your thought. I just want to add this caveat for those of you who don't understand exactly what she's speaking about. So she's thinking about all the court cases that happened right around, I would say, right as COVID was ending, around certified and minority businesses that particularly government and or corporations had, different regulations or bylaws that were stating that they were going to give X amount of business or preference to small businesses. So there were a number of court cases that came up really challenging that. Even in the federal sector, we've seen it with SBA and the 8A program. So it's been really heavy and hot and interesting to watch. But as she said, and please continue, Heather, that many corporations that realize that the benefit of it and are in it to win it, and realize they have a diverse group of consumers. So why wouldn't they have diverse vendors and suppliers? It makes good business sense.
I mean, if you think about it, and like the biggest one was the Founders Fund, right? That said they couldn't specifically say it was for Black women-owned businesses. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you sad that one opportunity is there that you might not be able to take advantage of? Oh my gosh, come on, people, right? So okay, so with all those, but a really great analogy that Erwin, who's actually part of a JV I'm a part of, Erwin Drucker, he brought up a really amazing point that before gay marriage was legal, before there was partnership, there was companies saying, you and your, before the insurance companies, I should say, would say like, you have to be married to have the insurance, and they couldn't have gay marriage. There were a lot of corporations who said, you know what, we want you to be you, we want you to be who you are. We are going to cover it as if you're a married couple for your insurance. They were ahead of their times, those corporations, right? They stood up for their employees when the government wasn't there yet, right? And so I think now we're in that same position where we're going to look for the corporations to be like, you're not right. What you're doing is not right, and it's not good for business. I mean, look at what's happened since they started it, right?
Yeah. It's even more companies coming to the forefront saying, we're going to support this. We're doubling down. Absolutely.
Right. And the ones who pulled out, the ones who made these big, which by the way, if you're going to stop your DEI program, do you need to make a big announcement about it? I don't understand that, right? But the ones who have done that, um, it wasn't shocking. I really was not
Yeah.
shocked for the companies who did it, right? But I think that we're going to see it. And so I think what's also happened is that, after the pandemic, the reason that there was such a huge upswing of the small and diverse business utilization is because they saw how the big companies got messed over in the supply chain. They couldn't deliver, right? And there's so many
100%.
stories about how the small businesses, the local businesses, the diverse businesses saved the
Yeah,
day. Like, are we
absolutely.
forgetting that? Are we already forgetting that
Such a great
they
point.
they saved the day when you big company couldn't do it?
Yeah, absolutely. And they needed it. It's like the small guys, the small communities, the small businesses during the pandemic, particularly, we saw them supporting whole communities. So that's who we needed. The big corporations, nobody was driving into work to go to. So that's a
No,
beautiful point.
right?
I want to shift gears a little bit now and talk about something I think that's at the bedrock of the work that you do around supporting diverse suppliers and bringing them together with large businesses. And that
Yeah.
is the mentorship piece, right?
Yes.
Because if you're a business like similar to Aerobodies, we've been in business, we're celebrating 27 years this year.
Wow!
Big party for that. Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. But if you've been in it for a long time, you've got your street cred. You
You weathered
obviously
the
have worked,
storms.
you got it, been through the problems. I've been through 4 downturns. Everybody thought the pandemic was something. At least I always say with the pandemic, we got money.
Yeah.
It wasn't that
So,
bad a downturn.
and 2008,
Here
you
during
did not.
Y2K. Y2K was a hot
Yeah.
mess. Let me tell
Oh,
you.
yeah.
4 corporate contracts canceled in 30 days. It was crazy. But anyway, with all of that said, can you talk to us a little bit about if you're a large business that you're listening to this episode, or if you're a small business listening to this episode, the ideal around mentorship and what it
Yes.
takes to really prune and grow into a strong company? And I'll give this as an example. I was talking to a strategic partner yesterday. We do a lot of partnering in the GovCon space because the contracts are so very large and they really want more of that, right? It's a,
Yeah.
$10-20 million contract. You got to partner, you got to find good partners.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of companies or solopreneurs that they just want I like to say a higher paying job, but it's more of a job than it is growing a business.
Yep.
And government, large suppliers, large corporations know the difference, right? Don't think they're
Yes.
stupid. So you're trying
Right.
to go in there kind of paddling that you're a company and you're trying to compete against somebody like me, who, again, 27 years in the game with 50 employees. You can't, because you're really just you're a solo that you're trying to have more money, we have a higher
Right.
payday,
You
but you're
you
not
can't
really a
do you
business,
can't do a
right?
$20 million project for a solopreneur. I'm sorry,
Exactly.
you
It's not going to
cannot.
happen.
Right?
So talk to us a little bit about the mentorship piece. If you're a large corp and you're looking to really develop and season, and why that's so important. And likewise, a small business that needs to be mentored by a large
Yeah.
corporation.
And I know there's like, in the government world, there's the mentor protege option. I'm not going
Yeah,
to speak to that because I just don't know enough about it to
sure.
give a credible answer, right? But in the private sector world, yeah, mentorship is so important, and I don't think enough people take advantage of it.
Yeah.
In all the diversity organizations, they offer mentorship programming.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's directly with one of the Fortune 1000. Sometimes it's through the organization. They'll match you up with somebody. Sometimes it's with another diverse business owner who's just like, you've seen so much more than I've seen. Been in business 10 years longer than I have, right? So like,
Yep.
why should I make mistakes that I don't have to make if I can have a mentor that can help me around that? You know what I mean? It's
Well said.
so,
Yeah.
and I think that one of the here's some of the issues that can come up in the mentorship programs is people don't know about them. They don't appreciate them. Right. I
Mm.
love them and I take part in almost too many of them, quite frankly, because I'm constantly like, oh, maybe I should not do everything at once because then I can actually get the work done also, right? But I took the Toyota one. That's one of my favorite stories. I talk about it all the time. I took the Toyota mentorship program. It was through disability, and my mentor was the CIO of Toyota North America. Now
Oh,
I sell to the Fortune 1000, so her perspective from the C-suite of a Fortune 50, Fortune 10, whatever company is
yeah.
invaluable. And I said to her, I said, Holly, can you help me figure out what I'm not saying right here? Because I'll talk to the corporations. They're like, oh, Heather, you're amazing. We love you. I mean, we're not going to buy from you, but you're fantastic. And I'm like, okay, what am I missing here that they say they love me and they're not going to buy it from me? So there's a gap between what I think they need to hear and what I'm saying. Now, she is the audience that needs to hear it. So we went over this whole thing. She helped me create a video that I send out now as part of my proposals
Hmm.
directed to the corporate clients, because they need to hear a specific metric or a specific verbiage that I didn't know about because don't sit in the C-suite of a Fortune 100 company.
I love
It
that.
cost me zero to be part of that program. Right. And then again, fast forward, I took that same video and I knew it needed to be adjusted a little bit. It had been out there for a couple of years and I had another partner. This was TD Bank. And at this point was awesome because we've gone international now at this point. So to have somebody in a different country, because she's in Canada, again, they have different titles, they have different labels, they have different culture around supplier diversity in Canada than we do here.
Yeah.
I mean, they may like kind of guided after us, but still different. And so she was able to have that conversation with me. She even helped me write a very sensitive letter. There was a corporation who was doing something on a Jewish holiday. And I wanted them to know that I didn't think that was very appropriate for a supplier diversity event to be on a Jewish holiday. But I said, I need to write this in a very specific way, right? As educational. And so she helped me draft that letter as well. So it came across not like, not you're a naughty person, right? But also, because it's a lot of emotion behind it, things like that. So we had a whole conversation. These mentorship programs are nothing to be laughed at. I mean, I didn't even know that informal mentorship programs, there was a WBE, she's an MWBE, and I've known her for years, and she's been great. And I'll say to her, like, I remember one time a new person came in, was my new contact. And of course, they're like, so we need to cut your rates, right? That's what they do, right? The new person's always like, we want to cut your rates, not knowing anything about what we do or how we do it, right? And I was like, well, how do I respond? And she's like, she sat down with me. We were actually at a conference and she pulled me aside and said, we're going to write this email together. And she helped me draft it because she's been in business longer than me and she's seen it and she's been through it. Yeah. Now, I will say, to be a successful mentee, you need to be vulnerable and you need to be willing to be like, I am not good at this one part of my business. Like, I need help on this. So like with Holly at Toyota, I said, I am not good at processes. I know I run a process company and we've got it down, but I'm sure there's ways that I can make this better. And she helped me. She went through it. She said, can you automate this? Can we do AI? Whatever it is. Yeah. But because she is a process guru, right? So you have to come with the ability to say, listen, because now people, especially with social media, if you look at social media, everyone makes $1 million. Everyone's house is like perfect and big. Everyone drives, a $90,000 car. We know that is not true. Right? Like logically, we know. But when we look at it, we're like, what is wrong with me? Yeah. So now I have to pretend to be this person in this position that you feel like you have to be, which gets you nowhere.
Exactly. I love that. That's such good wisdom and jewels, Heather, for folks to, and I can easily see the application, even if you're listening and you don't have a business, but let's say you're a, phenom professional and you're trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way to find a good mentor and to be a good mentee? Those were jewels of success. I really appreciate you dropping those for us.
The mentors have to also know what they're good at, right? If you're not good at financials, don't try to help me with my P&L. Okay. If you are good at marketing, please help me with
my But that's the thing. I mean, a really great mentor will know those things, right? Yeah, exactly. People who are really fantastic. Like, I don't waste my time with things I don't know how to do well. And I don't waste time with people who don't know how to do those things well. So 100% across the board, 100%. But I'm glad you still noted that because people do need to think about that a little bit. So shifting a little bit, I want to talk about this whole helm that you're carrying of entrepreneurship and, obviously being a phenom businesswoman and, what the challenges are that you run into around that. Because although you help diverse businesses and you're a certifier of, you are one yourself, right? And so carrying that day after day, S on your chest, as one of my friends said, and carrying it strong and trying to be everything to everybody, it can be laden with a lot of responsibility, heaviness, right? And taxing. So curious, with all that being said, with how Heather Cox maintains Heather Cox, the brand, what do you do to keep yourself empowered, amplified, and most importantly, well?
So we are a certified women and disability-owned business enterprise. Both titles I wear proudly and tell everybody that will ever listen to me that we are those things. Usually right before I ask them if they happen to be, Hispanic, gay, or disabled, the random person I meet at the bar. But, I think that something that I don't know, Lasagna Berry, I don't know if you know Lasagna Berry. She's another fantastic MWB that's been around for a very long time. She's a great HR company. But she said something to me. We were at a retreat one time and she was like, you're so different when you get to know you. And I was like, really? Does that mean that I'm not being, she's like, you just seem so much more like in a box than you really are. And she's like, I think people will like you more if you're yourself. And I'm like, really? Because I have this idea that as a woman in business, you have to be like very put together and very like
drawing the lines.
demure and all that, right? Which is not me. That's not me.
No, and she sits here. For those of you who are listening that are not watching us on YouTube, she sits here with her baseball cap that is, it looks with Certify My Company, of course, on top. But she's just looking here, chilling, beautiful woman. But she did not dress up for me. Let me tell you that. She did not dress up for Fran. But you're yourself. You are being who you are, which I love.
I love my trucker hats. I put makeup on for you, girl. I put makeup on for you, and I curled the hair. I love it. Okay, but the marketing hat, but people get to know, and so I could dress in the business suits and everything, but that's not me. Yeah. And as soon as I stopped pretending to be someone I'm not, people were like, "Oh, you're so fun. You're so good." And now they want to have conversations and they want to have a relationship, which is, especially in this space, the relationships are everything. Yeah. So I was like, I'm a little nutty sometimes. And sometimes I say things and sometimes I show up in my trucker hats to conferences, but people are like, I love it. You're branded. You are who you are. I have my branded Chucks as well that I kind of gave up on my heels like not too long ago. Yeah. I still wear my 4-inch heels. Don't get me wrong. I still love them, but like I wear my branded Chucks now as well. And like, it's just, it's just like a whole personal brand.
It's a vibe. Personal brand. You do. And that's what people buy. I mean, we were chatting before in the green room, right? We were chatting before about, tackling the beast of getting into government contracting and what that's all about. And as my mentor has told me many times, but I've seen as true, is that even though it's $1 billion agency and you're, $1 million company trying to sell to them, they're still buying you. They're still buying the personality who is behind that brand. Think about any of the big brands that are out there. You think about, Tesla, you immediately think of Elon, right? Yeah. So there's still a person that people identify with and they connect with, and that's why they associate with and like or don't like that brand. So good point.
I mean, they say people do business with they like, know, and trust, right? And so if you are authentic to who they are and you've shown them time and time again that this is really who you are and they can trust you and you are true to your word, right? And I'm very transparent. I'll tell people, that's not what we do, but let me find you someone. I know someone who is. Or that's not what we do, or we haven't done that exactly, but I think we could if you're willing to work with this on us, right? And I think people trust that because I've never said something that I can't do. I've never presented that we'll do something that we know for sure would not get done successfully. So, and I also, part of that brand is also, I go to the gym all the time. Most of it's because, I have 5 kids, 15 to 7. I have a full-time business. I don't want to punch random people in the face when they frustrate me. So the gym is a really good way.
That is the most interesting way I've ever heard boxing described. I don't want to punch people in the face that don't know me. I love that. Yeah. So it's great.
I feel like going to jail would be detrimental, not only my family, but my business. And so the gym is a huge, part of my daily kind of like keeping myself going.
And I love how you circle back to that. Like I was like, you're not getting out of this. And we want to know how because self-care is so important, right? Yeah. You can't be a powerhouse. You can't get it done all the time if you're not oxygen mask on self first. So please continue. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but the gym is a huge part for me. And also, I used to also, like, let's say the conference started Wednesday at noon. I would jump on the 5 a.m. flight and get there and you are toast. Do your toast. So now I go in the day before. So that I am rested and I can show up as my, rested self-care.
Get that little upgraded seat on the plane. Get that upgraded seat on the plane. So
I am not yet.
So you can feel relaxed because you don't want to look like in my case, I'm selling wellness services, right?
If
I am looking dry skin and dark circles under my eyes and a skeleton. People are going to be like, they're not buying wellness services. So you need to look the product. So 100%.
Yeah. And I am known for being very high energy. And even my low energy is most people's high energy, but I'm known for being very high energy. And if I show up, people are going to think there's something wrong. Like they're just going to assume something's wrong. And they always think, the business must not be doing well, right? That's always people's first idea. If like a business owner isn't showing up to their 100%. So it's just those little things. But I think when you first start a business, even a few years into it, you're scared. You're scared to pay for that extra hotel room. You're scared to, all the things that you're scared to outsource. You're scared to spend even $1 more. But sometimes I think we're penny wise, pound foolish when we do that.
So true. So, last nugget as we round down this conversation, it's been amazing. I love an amped woman who loves what she does. I love that.
Yeah.
And you exude that. I'm sure you've been told that before, but you exude that.
Yeah.
But any last nuggets that you would love to share with our listeners just about, again, getting back to the baseline around doing work with successful but diverse businesses and why that is so critical and so important? What would you say?
I mean, there are study after study that shows that the supply chains that are diversified, that utilize all the various demographics, do better. The shareholders do better. The company does better, right? It does better both in PR as well as actual bottom line. So I think really what it comes down to is understanding that we have to do it ourselves as well. And I think that's something that is, I can say like, you person over there should be buying diverse, and you and you. I mean, I don't have to, right? Every year we put out how much we spend as well with diverse businesses. We have a 64% diverse spend internally, right? Because I'm not just talking the talk, we are walking the walk. And the only way to grow the pie, the only way to demonstrate that this is important to me is for me to do it as well. Because our pocketbooks are our biggest way to show what's important to us, right? And so by us doing it and me showing our corporate clients, look, I have a 64 diverse spend as well. We are also doing this. That's how we grow the pie. The more you buy, the more I buy, the more the big companies buy, we're going to grow the pie. And by growing the pie, you get more companies. Only 1% of diverse businesses in the US are certified. 1%. So imagine.
We got to grow that.
If we could if we harness the power of all of us together, no stopping us.
Through the roof.
Yeah.
This has been such an electrifying conversation, Heather Cox. Thank you so very much for joining us today on the Optimized Workplace. You are a delight. Keep doing what you're doing. You certainly are revving me up and helping me realize it's important to do what we do and to spread the word and to stay certified. So thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
And thank you all for joining us today for the Optimized Workplace. Again, I'm your host, Frandine Bishop. And remember, as I always tell you, it's many, that small, monumental moments in your life that make the biggest difference. Take care and stay well.